Sentry.
衛兵、見張り番。
The squad were on sentry duty last night. Seraphic.
天使のような、清らかな。
When the children put on their angel costumes, they look seraphic. Serendipity.
偶然発見する才能、掘り出し上手。
There is a real element of serendipity in archaeology. Serenity.
平静、落ち着き。
Many individuals find that yoga is a great way to experience serenity. Servile.
従順な、奴隷的な。
Some individuals are so servile that other people take advantage of their submissiveness. Shady.
日陰の、疑わしい。
He was involved in shady deals in the past. Shard.
破片、かけら。
Shards of glass have been cemented into the top of the wall to stop people climbing over. Sheath.
外装、覆い。
A thin sheath covered the scalpel and other sharp instruments while not in use. Shirk.
回避する、逃れる。
A lazy manager often attempts to shirk his responsibilities by passing his tasks on to his workers. Shore.
支える、強化する。
He called for action to shore up the ailing university. Shrewd.
賢い、鋭い。
He is a very shrewd businessman. Sidereal.
星の、星座の。
The scientists' calculations were based on sidereal time, which was related to the Earth's rotation around fixed planets. Sidestep.
回避する、避ける。
The speaker sidestepped the question by saying that it would take him too long to answer it. Simian.
猿の、類人猿の。
The actor mimicked simian movements for his role in Planet of the Apes. Simile.
直喩、名喩。
The simile tough as nails best applies to a person who is not easily frightened and has a strong, determined mindset. Simpatico.
気の合う、親しみが持てる。
Finding a simpatico partner in life has become easier for many single people since there are so many dating sites to find people with similarities. Simulacrum.
面影、似姿。
Crowds marched through the streets carrying burning simulacrums of the president. Sincere.
誠実な、偽りのない。
The judge agreed to lighten his sentence as he made a sincere effort to improve his behavior. Sinecure.
官職、実務のない職。
Even though we all thought of the job as a sinecure, Jane took her position very seriously and always worked late into the evening. Singular.
珍しい、並外れた。
Although it isn't widely known, the book is regarded as a singular and powerful piece of 19th century writing. Sinister.
不吉な、悪意の。
She has dark, sinister eyes that make you nervous when she looks at you. Sinuous.
曲がりくねった、遠回しの。
According to the treasure map, the cave is located at the end of the sinuous path that winds up the mountain. Skeletal.
骨格の、骸骨の。
The newspaper report gave only a skeletal account of the debate. Skeptic.
懐疑論者、疑い深い人。
The scientist was a religious skeptic and had trouble believing God exists. Skittish.
内気な、気まぐれな。
My horse is very skittish, so I have to keep him away from traffic. Skulk.
こそこそする、忍び歩く。
When the criminal surveyed the jewelry store, he tried to skulk around the neighborhood without being noticed. Slack.
ゆるい、元気のない。
Discipline in Mr. Brown's class has become very slack recently. Slake.
満足させる、消す。
This electrolyte water should help slake the runner's thirst during the marathon. Slanderous.
抽象的な、名誉を毀損する。
He makes slanderous statement about the president on television. Sloth.
怠惰、武将。
The report criticizes the government's sloth in tackling environmental problems. Slouch.
前かがみに立つ、うつむく。
A couple of boys were slouched over the table reading magazines. Smite.
打ちのめす、病気などに圧倒される。
He tried to smite his political rival by hitting her with negative ads and publicity. Snub.
鼻であしらう、無視する。
They are likely to snub people who aren't just like them. Sober.
真面目な、節度のある。
The woman's expression was sober and sensible because she was generally a calm person. Sobriety.
禁酒、平静。
Sobriety tests showed that the driver was inebriated and not able to operate a vehicle. Sobriquet.
ニックネーム、仮名。
The boxer's sobriquet was the greatest. Sodden.
びしょ濡れの、水に浸した。
My shoes were sodden after I walked a mile in the rain. Soggy.
水浸しの、ふやけた。
The toddler spilled juice on her bread and refused to eat it because it was soggy. Solace.
慰め、安堵。
Music was a great solace to me. Solecism.
文法違反、語法違反。
She commits a lot of solecisms. Solemnity.
厳粛、儀式。
The solemnity of the event dictates that guests wear formal clothing. Solicitous.
心配する、気遣う。
She becomes angry at her overly solicitous mother. Solidarity.
団結、結束。
The situation raises important questions about solidarity among member states. Soliloquy.
独り言、独白。
The actress's soliloquy let the audience hear the character's inner thoughts. Solitary.
一人の、孤独な。
He enjoys solitary walks in the wilderness. Solvent.
支払い能力のある、溶かす。
Because the restaurant is not solvent, it will be closing in 2 weeks. Somatic.
体の、肉体の。
It is difficult to link generic somatic symptoms like an irregular heartbeat to specific illness. Somber.
陰気な、薄暗い。
Sometimes the news is so somber that I turn off the television. Sophistry.
こじつけ、へりくつ。
Surprisingly, many debates are won by individuals who make use of sophistry to convince others they know something they do not. Soporific.
催眠性の、眠い。
The professor's boring speech was soporific and had everyone in the audience yawning. Sordid.
卑やしい、みすぼらしい。
If people learn of the politician's sordid past, they will not vote for him. Sovereign.
主権者、君主。
King George was the sovereign of England. Sparse.
希薄な、薄い、点在した。
The information available on the subject is sparse. Spartan.
質素な、簡素な。
The monks have chosen to live a Spartan life devoid of all luxuries. Specious.
見かけだけの、もっともらしい。
His whole argument is specious. Spectre.
恐ろしいもの、幽霊。
The specter of inflation concerns many voters. Spectroscope.
分光器。
The spectroscope was used to analyze the light of the planetary nebula. Spectrum.
範囲、領域。
The survey provided the company with a wide spectrum of feedback on its products. Speculative.
試作的な、投機的な。
After conducting the experiment, the researcher realized his speculative assumption was indeed a fact. Spendthrift.
金遣いの荒い、浪費癖のある。
Because the lottery winner was a spendthrift, he spent his winnings in less than a year. Sphere.
範囲、領域。
Although she was not in his sphere of command, she still respected him as a leader. Sporadic.
時々起こる、散在的な。
After the tornado, there were sporadic power outages in our town. Spur.
鼓舞する、刺激する。
The chance to win a scholarship should spur my daughter into studying hard for the college admissions test. Spurious.
偽の、いい加減な。
After receiving a low appraisal on my diamond ring, I realized the suspicious-looking jeweler had sold me a spurious jewel. Squalid.
むさ苦しい、卑劣な。
Many prisons are overcrowded and squalid places even today. Squalor.
不潔、下劣。
These people are forced to live in squalor. Squarely.
公平に、正直に。
We have to face these issues squarely and honestly. Squelch.
押しつぶす、音を立てながら歩く。
The senator thoroughly squelched the journalist who tried to interrupt him during his speech. Staccato.
断音的な、断続的な。
The song needs to be played in a staccato manner and not as a continuous melody. Stalemate.
行き詰まらせる、手詰まりにさせる。
Airport managers feared that a flood of private vehicles with few places to park could stalemate the loop road. Staunch.
止血する、塞ぐ。
A tourniquet is designed to staunch bleeding from wounded limbs by cutting off the flow of blood from the heart to that limb. Stanchion.
柱、支柱。
If the stanchion is removed, the stairs will collapse. Staple.
主要産物、必需品。
Phosphate has been a staple of this area for many years. Stark.
飾りのない、荒涼とした。
The house's living room was stark and held only one couch. Stasis.
均衡、静止。
The settlement meeting reached a stasis when both sides stopped talking to each other. Staunch.
忠実な、頑固な。
He gained a reputation as being a staunch defender of civil rights. Steadfast.
忠実な、不変の。
The group remained steadfast in its support for the new system, even when it was criticized in the newspapers. Stentorian.
大声の、非常に大きい。
The stentorian music was so loud that it made my head hurt. Stern.
厳格な、厳しい。
Journalists received a stern warning not to go anywhere near the battleship. Steward.
執事、世話人。
If you need help at any time during the conference, one of the stewards will be pleased to help you. Stigmatize.
非難する、汚名を着せる。
People should not be stigmatized on the basis of race. Stint.
切り詰める、倹約する。
She doesn't stint when it comes to buying new clothes. Stipulate.
規定する、明記する。
The software company's policies stipulate employees must take 2 15-minute breaks a day. Stir.
奮起させる、かきたてる。
The speech stirred the crowd to take action. Stolid.
鈍感な、無感動な。
He was a stolid man who did not even show his emotions at the funeral. Stopgap.
穴埋め、一時しのぎ。
Hostels are used as a stopgap until the families can find permanent accommodation. Stout.
丈夫な、頑固な。
I bought myself a pair of good stout hiking boots. Stratagem.
戦略、戦術。
Her business stratagem allowed her to quickly rise to the top as a great success. Stratification.
相乗化、階層化。
The Prime Minister wants to reduce social stratification and make the country a classless society. Stratum.
層、地層。
Earth scientists study stratum comprised of different types of rock. Striae.
線をつける、筋をつける。
The canyon walls were striated with various colors of stratums. Stricture.
制限、酷評。
In college, the students must obey the stricture forbidding alcohol on campus. Strident.
耳障りな、甲高い。
He often hears the strident argument between his neighbors. Stringent.
厳しい、厳格な。
Stringent safety regulations were introduced after the accident. Strong suit.
強み、長所。
I'm afraid patience isn't exactly my strong suit. Strut.
支柱、突っ張り。
This strut braces the beam. Studious.
学問に励む、勉強好きな。
The studious girl dreams of being the valedictorian of her class. Stultify.
無効にする、無意味にする。
The regulations stultify the freedom of workers. Stumble.
つまずく、まごつく。
The runner started to stumble as he approached the finish line. Stupefy.
麻痺させる、無感覚にさせる。
Casinos offer free alcoholic drinks to stupefy patrons to the point that they are unaware of time and money spent.